Good morning. Good morning. On my way to work. Another beautiful day in Zamunda. Another beautiful drive-in. It is Thursday, and usually I do not go into work because I could work 2 days from home, but I took off on Tuesday. I called in sick to look at apartments. So this is not necessarily well known. I haven't actually posted it on my page because my daughter doesn't really want it known. She's so modest. I love her to death. But I could probably share with you guys because not too many people know about this page. But she is going to law school. So I am so proud of her. She is going to be, I'm not telling you where she's going, but we went apartment hunting on Tuesday and finally found a space. So she is very picky, and and you know what, I get it. I understand. She wants a space that is going to be conducive to studying because law school, as you guys well probably know, is very rigorous, right? So she needs a quiet space. She doesn't want a whole bunch of roommates, and she definitely didn't want to like really share a bathroom with anyone. She didn't have a really good experience. She did have roommates when she went to her undergrad, the school she went to, and she didn't really have a good experience with that. So she was trying to stay away from having a whole bunch of roommates for that reason as well. And again, I understand, I get it. But I was probably looking for at least a good 2-3 months for apartments, and they just do not have a good selection of apartments in the location that she's going to school at. Gotta be careful. I don't want to divulge too much information. And so what I'm used to, right, you know, it's that, well, what she's used to and what we're used to. You don't necessarily want to downgrade your whole living life just to attend school, right? You know, we're accustomed to certain, I ain't gonna say luxuries, but damn. And I understand school housing is not gonna be living at your parents, or you know, she has her own house and stuff, but it's not gonna be the same. But dang, I don't want to share a whole house with 4, 5, 6 people, and we sharing 2 bathrooms or 1 bathroom, and the selection is just not there. And I can speak on that because I'm sort of like a landlord myself. So I not only rent out rooms at my house, she also rents out rooms in her house. So, you know, the way I have things set up at my place is very nice. Like, if I was looking for a place, I would definitely want to live at my place. So, you know, I rent out a room. Actually, I rent out 2 rooms, but I rent out a room, and that person has a nice sized bedroom. It comes completely furnished, and it comes with a private bathroom. And then we share like the living room and dining room. And again, I'm never in the kitchen. And again, I have a pretty big house for one person, and it has, you know, I have like a dining room, I have a living room, I have a kitchen, a big ass kitchen, 4-bedroom house, a nice neighborhood. So it's a nice house. And again, I'm not trying to fill it up with people, right? Because I don't want to do that, but I do like having someone there because that way I don't have to stay by myself. Even though I'm not like, they're not in my face, I'm not in their face, you know, but I do like having the actual physical person, you know, staying there from time to time. And it's something that I've always done. Like, thinking back, I have always like rented a room. Ooh, little joke there. But I've always rented a room, even going back, like, dang, when I moved out to Henrietta initially, and I was living at Westbrook Commons, and this is back in the day. This got to be like 2025. No, even before that, but officially 2025. So initially, I have a whole story about how I even moved out to Henrietta. That's for another day. But that's an interesting story. But I ended up, actually, I initially moved out to Westbrook Commons, which is in Henrietta. And then maybe 2 years after that, I moved to Lehigh Station Road. Or no, it's not called Lehigh Station Road. It's called Bennington Hills, which were like luxury townhomes. So I moved there, and I lived there from like 2005 to 2010, and that's when I purchased my home back in 2010. But I would say since 2005, when I lived at Bennington Hills, I was renting out a room. So my daughter at that age, she was only 5 years old, but I had a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment in Bennington, and it was a townhome. So it was not an upstairs downstairs, but it was like townhome luxury apartments. So they were really upscale apartments, very nice. But I had a room and a bathroom that we were not using because my daughter, normally stayed in my room. So I had a whole room side of the house, and it was on like the other side of the apartment. And so I would run that out. Again, I'll go into that story another day because that's a good little story. But yeah, I have been renting out rooms for a very long time. And when I originally purchased my home, and I purchased my home brand new, I wanted it to be in Henrietta. I wanted it to be near the college, so I live near RIT. So I'm just in my head, I'm always like thinking ahead, like what could I wanted to buy something that I could still probably rent out a room, just to have some extra money, because I'm a single parent. So I wanted that money that like easy money, and which it is. It's very easy money. So I purchased the house not too far from RIT. Now granted, you still have to have a vehicle in order to live near me, but it's only maybe 8-minute drive to RIT, which a lot of people do have cars. So that's not really a huge deal. And then when the whole COVID thing came about, and I got into doing like traveling nurses and traveling, professionals, and so I kind of veered that way. So, but like I said, even without COVID now, I'm still able to still get, students. I still have that pull. And my daughter ended up purchasing a house in Henrietta as well. So she's able to, also grab from that pool of people, and that's, RIT ain't going nowhere. So that's always going to be, I'm not going to say easy money, but it really is easy money, especially if you have really good roommates. And luckily, by the grace of God, I've always had really good roommates. I've always had, and I'm flexible, right? I don't necessarily have someone that's going to sign like a whole year's lease, because listen, if shit ain't working out, I want you to be able to leave, and I want to be able to leave. I want to be able to say that you have to leave, or if you want to leave, I'm not going to make someone stay in my home, especially if things are not working out. So I leave it open for that situation. But I've always had really good tenants living, or roommates staying with me. So, currently I'm renting. Yeah, so maybe I'll go into like that whole story as far as what I do as far as renting out rooms, because currently right now I am renting out a room. Like I said, I have a 4-bedroom house, so it's a 3-story home. I have my upstairs, my main room, and I have the basement. So when my daughter graduated from college, we had redid our basement. So my basement was I redid the whole basement. So my basement has like a whole living room, bathroom, walk-in closet, and bedroom downstairs. So honestly, like I said, when I was looking for a place for my daughter to stay, I have in mind like the things that I'm offering to people in my own rental situation, and I'm looking for something similar to that, and it just was not there. I am very surprised and shocked by some of the things that people are actually offering for student housing, or just housing period for people to live. You know, it's just kind of sad that, and you know, I guess if I lived in the area that we were looking, and I owned a house or whatever, I probably would do the same thing just to maximize and get the most money, because kids are going to do it, right? You're going to, you know, you may, especially if the rent is like $400, $500, but to share a bathroom with 4 or 5 other people, I ain't doing it. I'm sorry. I'd rather pay $1,000, pay a little bit more money to have, first of all, to have my own bathroom. Secondly, to not have to share it with so many people, because, you know, you get to living with multiple people. You have multiple, not only are you living with people that you may not necessarily know, they're probably all going to be students, but you never know what their level of what they're doing, right? You don't know what type of mental issues they might have, be coming in with, what type of medication they taking on the side that you don't know, right? What kind of pets they bringing in, because now everybody want to bring a pet to school and shit. That's another factor that you have to deal with. Different personalities, you got to worry about it, what kind of guests they have at their house. You know, it's just too many unknown variables when you have that many people living in a confined space. And so, you know, at least with one person you could talk things through, but then having to like talk things out with 4 or 5 people, it just doesn't work out, right? So we were looking for space, finally found, we were on Facebook, because there's a couple of groups that we're in that people post like, they may have signed like a lease thinking that they were going to go to the school this year, and then their plans changed, so now they're trying to relet. So I talked to like 2 people, and they had 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartments, which is kind of what we want. We wanted a studio, but those get grabbed up immediately, right? Those are probably signed before the school year, from previous school year, is even over. So those are hard to come by if you are not like a previous student. But 2-bedroom, 2-bath, I feel like are also hard to come by. So when I found 1 or 2 people that were looking to relet their space, I kind of jumped on it. So that's why I kind of took off of work on Tuesday, because I'm like, you know, we need to nail this down, because these are not going to last. So we drove up to where she's going to school, and we looked at the space, and they're nice. They were really nice. There weren't really too many cons to either space. I mean, I'm not going to say they're luxury apartments, but they definitely have a lot of amenities that each of the buildings came with. So we kind of narrowed it down. So we saw like 4 places, and we narrowed it down to 2 places. And both of those places have like the same amenities. They have like a gym, they have a pool, a hot tub, you know, washer, dryer in the unit. They have, you know, they have like a, it's more school based too. It's off campus, but you know, students attend there. So when you looked at apples versus apples, those things were like very similar. There weren't really too many differences in those things. The biggest difference was one apartment was actually built like a townhome. So you have the first floor, and then the first floor is like the shared kitchen and living room area. The next floor would be someone's bedroom. And then the top floor, so it was a 3-floor unit. The 3rd floor would be where the washer dryer was, and the other bedroom. Now that was nice, and actually that was kind of preferred. That was like, but the bedrooms were super small. And when I say small, it was like literally you have your bed, you have your dresser, you have a closet, nightstand, just enough room to get that stuff, and then maybe you might can turn around right in it. And then the bathroom also was super small. I mean, it literally had like the sink, tub, and toilet, like that, and then that was enough. That was all the space that space provided, and that was it. But the pro about that was that every floor had its own bedroom. So, and that was like one of the biggest, not selling points, but that was one of the biggest things that we liked about that place. Now the other place, again, like I said, there were really not that many differences as far as the amenities. They both are 2-bedroom, 2 baths, so those things are the same in both places. Now the other one was again, had those amenities, so that was the same, but this one had shared kitchen, shared living room, just like the other one, but it's more set up like an apartment. So it has like 4 floors, not in the actual unit, but just 4 floors, and the way the rooms are set up is like you're on the same, like, it's just, how can I say, it's more like what you would think of a regular apartment to be. Like, you have the living room in the middle and the kitchen in the middle, and then one side you have the bedroom, and then the other side you have the other bedroom. So that was sort of the setup. So you don't have the pro or con, I guess, if you were looking at it. You're sharing the space with the same person, and each of the bedrooms are on the same floor, so everything's like on the same floor. But for this one, the bedroom was super big. I mean, not super huge, but it was a really good sized bedroom, like really nice sized bedroom. You could probably put like a chair or something else, bookcases and stuff like that in that room. The bathroom was really huge, and the closet was like a walk-in closet. So the not the living room space, but the actual bedroom, and where probably she would spend most of her time, was super huge. Like, just had way more square footage. I know people that got apartments as big as this room. It was a really nice space. I mean, I guess the downside would be like you are sharing the space with your roommate. You don't have like your own separate floor, but I feel like the compensation for that is you get a bigger room. Like, you're getting a bigger room. And also with this one, because we don't live that far from the school, but it's not something that I would want her to be driving back and forth every day to. So she is, I want her to like stay up there. So for this one, we didn't necessarily want to sign like a year's lease, because, probably next year she'll be, she'll still be in law school, but she may have the opportunity to like do other things, right? So, the good side of this apartment was you pay a little bit more and you can only sign a 10-month lease, which is nice. And honestly, I mean, it's a nice not to be locked in for a year, but really the difference in the upcharge and the other apartment, which you did have to sign a year's lease, was only maybe like $300, maybe a little bit more, because you have to factor in like electricity, utilities and stuff like that. But it's nice not knowing that I can just have my 10-year lease and be done with it. And you do save a little bit of money. So we ended up going with the one that had the bigger space, because like I said, my daughter is going to be, I just felt like that would be I let her make the decision, and she came to that decision. So yeah, so that is one thing off my plate, off my mind as a mom. Like, one less thing I have to worry about is finding a space now. It's just now we have to like clear out her house and get that ready for the tenants that will be moving in while she's away. So that's like my next thing I have to figure out. And then yeah, she'll be ready to go to school this year. I was just so happy for her. But as a mom, I don't necessarily want her to be that far away from me, but it is what it is. She'll come back, be successful in whatever she does. She's always been a really good kid. I never had to really worry about her. One thing I would say about her is that she has has her own mind. She does not let outside people influence her decisions. She's always been like that, and I'm not gonna say bossy, but she just knows, or being a boss, she just knows what she wants. She thinks for herself. She makes her own decisions. She doesn't let outside things influence her decisions. When she puts her mind to something, she does it. One other thing is, well, there's many things, but she also is a kid that listens. Like, I can tell her, like, I guess as a parent, you always think like you tell your kid to do something and they're gonna do it. And I guess maybe in my head, I believe that was what type of relationship we had, which it is. But if my daughter don't want to do something, she ain't gonna do it, no matter what I say. But luckily, and thank God, that a lot of things that I do advise her and we talk and tell her things to do, she does do them. But if there's something she don't want to do, she ain't gonna do it. She's gonna do what's best for her, no matter what I want her to do. She's going to make the best decision for herself. So like I said, she's been, we're just blessed, and I thank God and the angels and the guardians and the ancestors, the people that just watch over us, because I feel like that is one of the reasons why we are here. So so I'm just really proud of her. I can't really put this on my page, like I said, because she's so private. And I get it, like, I'm out here making videos and shit. She's probably gonna make me take this one down if she ever find it, and that's okay too. But when she starts school, I'm gonna be posting shit. Like, I'm a proud mom. Like, I am so proud of her. Like, especially coming from a single parent, to know that, I don't know, being a single parent was hard in itself. Not hard, like, she was not hard to raise. Like, I was truly blessed to have a kid like her. She was very easy to raise. Like, I didn't have to talk to her. I didn't have to, like, she just was easy. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. She was easy to raise because she listened, and she, and I've always been her biggest cheerleader. I'm like her biggest fan. But she was really a good kid. But again, still being a single parent, it was hard, you know what I mean? And me and her dad, we just could not make it work. And I think by the age of 3, it was over for me anyway. It was over. And so basically from the age of 3, and I would say even before the age of 3, but at the age of 3, it was definitely over. And I'll probably come up on here and tell some of them stories too. But just, you still, what I always was under the belief, even though I was raising her by myself, like, he was around, right? He wasn't like out of her life or anything, but he definitely made shit hard. But as knowing that I was gonna be like her single most, the parent that was gonna put her in different stuff and be her main caregiver, I always wanted it to be under the belief that even though I was raising her as a single parent, I didn't want anybody looking from the outside to know that she was being raised by a single parent. Meaning, like, I didn't want her to, like, if her, like, a lot of her friends had, a lot of her friends were being raised by single parents too, but a lot of her friends, because we grew up in the suburbs and stuff, they had their mom and dad. So obviously she didn't have that as far as, like, mom and dad are together. We were not together as a couple, but we were together, but not together. But a lot of things I had to do on my own, but I didn't want it to be like, oh, I can't do this because I don't have the money, or I can't buy you this because I don't have the money, or you can't get your hair done, I can't do school clothes. So I always made it to be like, listen, I'm a single parent, but no one's gonna know that. If they looking from the outside, they're not gonna know that. And so I tried really hard, and I felt like I succeeded in doing that. And obviously a lot of the things that she did is on her own, right? You know, I can't take credit for everything, but definitely I feel like I was foundation. My family definitely was foundation. Man, many people came in to help me because I was still going to school at the time too. So I would say probably until my daughter was like 6 or 7, my mom helped me to picked her up from daycare and fed her, bathed her, and I would, you know, after work and school, I would come and pick her up from my mom's house, and she would already be fed, bathed, ready to go to bed, you know. So that was like a process for a couple of years until I finished school. And then once I finished school, you know, but again, I definitely had a really good village that helped raise my daughter. But obviously, you know, me too, right? I was there too. And I would say her dad, there's many stories I can say about his ass. And like I said, that'll be for another day. This video is long enough. So yeah, so I just wanted to, you know, have a little vlog today before I went to work. So yeah, I'll end it here because I am pulling up to the JOB. All right, talk to you guys later. Bye.